I think it's important for people to be okay with compromise. And what I mean by that is, like tech in 2021 and 22 looked very different than how tech looks now.
Yeah.
If you lose your job talking to those recruiters and those TA guys and girls that we love so much, if you've experienced a layoff, I've noticed a trend. Some people are very hyper focused and like, I have to stay in tech. I have to have the
Yep.
same job. Maybe your next job isn't in tech. Like I
Yeah.
I I pivoted. I got a little tired of it,
Yeah.
and I moved into the defense space. I still do some technical stuff. I still do some IT
Mhm.
roles and things of that nature. And I pivoted. Will I go back to
Yeah.
tech in the future? Maybe, maybe not. Um, and I think I've noticed that I'm having these conversations with my friends and my connections. It's like they're unemployment in the US right now isn't the worst that it's been. There's still lots of jobs. There's still lots of jobs out there. Maybe your skill set can be really good in a slightly different industry. Maybe not. I'm not saying that everyone has to compromise or
Yeah.
sacrifice, but I feel, and the same goes with title. Like you were
Yes.
you were a TA manager, so all the roles that you're applying for is TA manager. Well, maybe
Mhm.
maybe maybe you go back to IC. Maybe you go
Yep.
back to being individual contributor. So I think we can kind of not lower our expectations,
Yeah.
but when
It's
the market's too tough,
realistic.
be
Yep.
realistic, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I think a really unrealistic expectation, I've like talked about this with other people, and I'm old, so I'm like an elder millennial. So maybe I have like borderline old
Hey,
school.
I'm a millennial. So you're making me feel old.
Okay, but I'm like
We're,
an old one. So
we're young.
I was in AOL chat rooms growing up. So
MS
I'm that era.
MS.
I
I
played
was
Oregon
the
Trail.
I was the MSN era. Okay, I was the
Yeah.
MSN era.
Oh well. But anyway, I there were all of these stories of, 23, 24-year-olds sharing, hey, I like doubled my salary from 60K to 90K to 125K in
Mhm.
1 year. And I mean, that's awesome. And if you can do that, more power to you. But you're not getting 125K today. You were being overpaid like at that time, right? Like a entry level first year recruiter doesn't make six figures. Like that's just
Right.
not what the job pays. And
Mm,
so the fact that you were getting that was a function of um the market, not of like that being the going rate like long term. And that's not the
exactly.
going rate anymore. No one's paying, no one's going to pay six figures for someone with 1 year of experience because they can
Mhm.
get someone with 6, 7 years of experience for that. And so
Hmm.
I think there is a level of like being realistic and understanding the, supply and demand like applies to jobs. And so if you can sort of expand like what you're open to. I saw that with titles too, where we had last year when we were hiring a senior recruiter, I had a number of people with 2, 3 years of experience applying for it. And we were like, what is this? Like, how do they have a senior recruiter title? Like for us, that's, 5+ years.
Hmm.
And, they were coming in senior recruiter, 150K, like minimum salary. We were like,
Wow,
that's just not,
Yeah.
like that,
realistic.
like we're not going to do that because that's not, fair internally to our employees, like who have worked their way up into those roles. But yeah, there was a lot of inflation. And I would say like those folks should be open to moving back, to recognizing like you may not get that title and compensation long term.
Well, and
Um,
Hmm.
there's, yeah, it's not sustainable. And I mean, I was hiring
yeah,
for a recruiter last year and same thing, right? Like, I mean, we had a very reasonable range for the amount of experience we were looking for, but
yeah,
we had a lot of people coming in way above that with
right.
significantly less experience. And so I think where a lot of recruiters are having to swallow some hard truths is that
Yeah,
you don't really have the skill set to warrant that in a normal market.
right.
And especially,
Hmm.
you have a lot of recruiters that have kind of entered into this space like Daryl, right? 2020 and beyond. And so, and we have even had a lot of people join in 2021, which is was kind of a gold rush for
Yeah.
recruitment. And the
Hmm.
truth is there's just a lack and there's a deficiency in skills.
Yeah.
And I think, recruiters, especially now, like they become valuable based off what skills and experience they have and where they can dive deep and deploy those
Mhm.
elsewhere. And, a lot of people were just comfortable with getting paid way too high and doing one
Yeah.
thing. And they weren't even doing it well in a lot of cases. They were just doing it. And I think now more than ever, you know, skills development is huge, and it's the most critical thing looking forward for recruiters in
Yeah.
my view, because, you know, and this can lead to a whole other discussion, but you know, you got a lot of automation, you got a lot of technology coming into the field.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, I don't want to say our jobs are at risk. I don't believe they are if you do it well, but there's always going to be that bottom half of that market, right? That is
Yeah.
not producing at a high level. And so a lot of those roles may be eliminated at some point, right? Or readjusted in different ways. And so it leads to a bigger discussion. But I just think that, you know, where recruiters should really be focusing right now, especially if you're early in your career, you've kind of gone through this roller coaster in the first couple of years, like lean into your skills, develop your skills.
Yeah.
Maybe there's skills that you don't even know that you don't have, right?
Yep.
So like network with more senior recruiters and figure out where those gaps are.
Yeah. And try a different industry. You know, I came from education and nonprofits. Zapier was my first tech company. And everyone was like, oh, it's going to be a real big learning curve, like moving into tech. Are you kidding? Like trying to convince people to take jobs in education that paid, you know, half like a marketing role at a school district versus like a marketing role in tech. Like you have to have really strong skills to find the right people with the skill sets at the price point. And you have to put a lot more effort into inspiring them around the opportunity and why they need to bet on that role and that organization. And so, you know, it is far easier being in this space.
Yeah.
And so go into one of those environments and you will learn a lot. You'll build your skills. You know, I don't implement systems here, but I did working at a nonprofit. I did the level of stuff I was doing and my team was doing was much higher there because you don't have as many people and to do every little thing for you the way that we do in tech. And so I do think like I would encourage people, if you want your skills to grow really rapidly, go work in a nonprofit where, you know, you're one of 3 people on the TA team and you will learn how to do everything and lots of opportunities are going to be open to you then. And so I also think there's like an opportunity for people to build that versatility, like you said, and that skill set and ultimately come out on top.
Yeah, of course.
Like
and just to kind of tie a bow in it, those are really good points. I think it's important for, you know, anyone that listens to this to just to remember that, it's great to have kind of linear financial growth and that's everyone's dream, right? Like every new role, I bump up my salary. But the reality is that a lot of my friends' careers that talk to me transparently around salary, my mentors, like, that's not the case. They're like, oh yeah, I went up 20K in this role, and then I had a lateral move, and then I went into this industry and dropped. And I think the key is when you go to interview for your role down the line, the recruiter's not asking you what did you make at your last role. They're asking you what are your comp expectations for this role. And so as long as you're being consistent, to Andrew's point, deepening your skills, you're gonna I'm actually really interested for this year to see who sticks around as a recruiter. Who sticks it out, because those people, when the pendulum swings back and all the tech companies are like, we need you
back.
Those recruiters are going to be the ones that get the jobs, not the ones who threw in the towel and was like, oh, I left the world of TA because it was too hard. It's going to be interesting to see I'm watching who's going to stick around.
Well, and at the same time, I also don't blame people. I mean, get your bills paid. So take the opportunities, expand into other areas, because if there's not the work in talent acquisition, there's not the work. And so I would not like fault people for not. Don't stay unemployed.
Absolutely, and that's not that's definitely not what I want to say. I don't want people to think like, oh, if you go into a marketing role that you threw in the towel and you gave up, there are ways you could still offer. To our previous question we discussed, you could still offer, you know, resume services, career coaching, things like that. All I say is try and keep your hand or your toe in the waters of TA. If you're passionate,
with how it's growing and evolving.
If you're passionate about it.
Totally agree. If this is like a career, I think it also will show you like for whom it was just a job and like a hope to make money versus who really wants to build a career in this space.